Good morning, everybody. Jeff Dawson here, East Coast Sports Investor, CEO and founder. Excuse me. Our debut is finally here. The Bankroll, the Breakfast Bankroll. I'm your host, Jeff Dawson, and live today from Florida will be Scott Webb. We'd like to basically, in a nutshell, break down some overnight action, give you some information on where today's lines are, and give you a couple different ways that between myself and Scott break down games, how we come up with our games, our sides, what to look for and what not to look for. Today, let me see what we can do right here. One moment. Our intro, thanks to Sahara himself. And without further ado, let's bring him all the way from the Palm Tree State himself, Mr. Scott Webb. Scotty, how are you?
Hey, Jeff, man, I'm doing great. And I love being in Florida this time of year when it's cold everywhere else. It's nice and hot and sunny down here.
Yeah, Cape Cod got a little of that. I mean, we actually made it into the low 70s yesterday. So
nice.
We're not in the Florida or Vegas weather, but in a nutshell, spring has sprung here, and we're getting ready for summer. And for us down here on Cape Cod, it means the Summer League will be back. The Cape Cod Baseball League will be back soon, and we're obviously looking forward to that. Last year with the pandemic, we were unable to watch where the young guns come up, and then before you know it, they are in the big dance. And exciting times for us. We have 3 fields within 10 minutes, and we spend a lot of time there, and it's great. So without further ado, could you tell the audience a little bit about your background, your former MLB experience, and exactly how and your way of coming up with your own odds and the sides of the game?
Sure. Well, as you can see, I've got gray hair, so I've been around the block a little bit. So my playing days are long gone. That's probably now in the neighborhood of 30 some years ago. But at the time, my only claim to fame is throwing Ken Griffey Jr. out stealing second base. That was a exciting time for me. Obviously, when you're younger and you're both kids at the time, you don't know what he's going to be. It's kind of interesting. He played on the same team with Lee May Jr., and I always thought Lee May Jr. was going to be a better player than Ken Griffey Jr., but didn't really turn out that way. Lee May Jr. ended up playing in the New York Mets organization, so I got to play some ball. I had surgery on my right shoulder, which is my throwing arm. I was a catcher, and that did me in. I could never really overcome it after that. So then after that, I got into looking at lines and numbers really through football. And then that catered back into what I love the most. I'm a baseball fanatic, and turned into now looking at a lot of the sabermetric type numbers. So I've studied those things now for probably the last 6-7 years, and I would tell you that most of those things are something that I use to create numbers, and not only create my own lines, but to then analyze all the pitching and the data and stuff that goes with it. Because in my mind, it's way more specific and way more predictive too as to what a team or a player can and can't do, and what you should expect. So what I do is I generate my own numbers. I create, that's what they call me, as a handicapper that creates their own line, and then I shop my line against where I think I can find EV positive, which is extra value added to the plus side, expected value positive, based on what I have as an edge, and then I make my wagers if everything matches up. So typically, the way I make a line is I merge the numbers together, if you want to call it that. So you have winning percentages by both teams, and there's an algorithm that was written not by me. I'm not necessarily that smart, but there's an algorithm that was written by a guy that was a trader, and he was showing value and being able to trade this stock versus another stock, which is the same thing as what we're doing with win-loss percentage. And then that comes up to a certain value. So if a team is expected to win, let's just say their winning percentage is 540 and another team is 470, what should that team that's 540, what should that winning percentage be when those two teams match up? I can answer that question for you. And then and that's how my basis of the line starts. And then I put in the starting pitching and handicap that throughout, and then try to put in a little bit of home field edge. And that was one of the things I found this year, because every year is a little different. But this year, in primary speaking, last year I have no fans. I had to back that number down a little bit from the home field edge. This year, now we have fans again, and the home teams are winning a lot, so I had to bump it back up again. So it takes a little bit of practice to get used to what you're looking at and what you're trying to do. But you create your own line, and then once you have that line created, you, what I call, create a story. Does that story make sense? Is this pitcher going to be able to dominate the hitters? Is the hitters going to be able to dominate the pitcher? Does that match what the line says? Why is the line the way it is? And then at the end of the day, you end up with a game or two, or you might have 7. It just depends on where you find your EV plus numbers and what your edges are. And then from that perspective, don't hesitate. You just bet them. And then once you go from there, that's kind of how I do it. So I handicap the teams, I handicap the games, I handicap a number at the beginning, and that's completely opposite of what you do. And that's why I think a lot of times what we can combine with, especially if we hit on the same game, I think we're going to have people going, oh my gosh, look at these guys.
No, exactly. And what's kind of made it great for us, and we've been together, ECSI is about 6.5 years now. January 1st, 2015, we debuted on social media, and you and I have been together for well over 5 years. And I think that's what attracted us together, is exactly how you come across and all your work in data to put together your information in baseball, and then how ECSI does it by following the spreadsheets, by following the sports books. We're following about 50 sports books as we speak right now. We're kind of your sports broker instead of your stock or crypto broker. Taking pictures of the overnight lines, waking up in the morning, see what the selected shops have done with the numbers, and then when the sports books and casinos reopen those lines, and then following exactly what the public does. So it's a win-win situation, as you said, when we both hit upon those same lines and games. Season's about 40 games in. Give everyone I guess we'd say a quarter pole look at how things have been going for you, how your work's been going, the games have been breaking, and maybe what you foresee. You talked about home teams, home crowds, as they are opening up, and maybe we're getting more to the 50% in the parks to maybe 75 and 100% by the All-Star break and beyond.
Yeah, I had a struggle here at the beginning of the season, and obviously for me and what I do, the numbers and everything, I need data. So when you don't have that data, typically what I found in the past is that I've been able to use the last month of the previous season combined with projections of what they're going to do this year. So that has been a pretty good foul safe for me, except last year they only played 60 games. So in that 60-game sprint that they had, the numbers and the mechanics and how I try to generate numbers has been pretty misleading for me. So I got off to a pretty bad start. However, over the last, I would say, week probably, the numbers have been coming in to a point where after you get about 7 starts out of a pitcher, you can really rely on a lot of things. One of the things that I do that's probably a little bit different than what most people do is I don't use the year-to-date numbers of any team at any time, none of them, ever. I want the most current information possible with the amount of data probably supplied that's necessary. So for a starting pitcher, I use the last 30 days. So say now we're May the 17th. Baseball started, I think, April 1st. So my numbers don't include what they did on opening day. My numbers don't include what they did maybe on their second start, because I need current information, and I don't want what they did on those days. I don't care what they did on those days, because that doesn't help you impact what they're going to do today. And for hitters, I use 7-day spans. So the reason for that is because baseball is 162 games, and it's very streaky. So you can get guys that are really hot, and you can get guys that go really cold. And if you don't capitalize on trying to narrow down the time frames, you're going to miss out on those spans or spots, just because you're utilizing data that's trying to encompass the whole season. And we don't want that. We don't need that. We want information that's going to provide us with the ups and the downs of where they are currently. I can remember 2 years ago, maybe it was 3 years ago now, John Lester got off to a great start, and then for a solid month, he couldn't pitch a lick. And then he turned it right around and pitched really good again. But all players go through something like this all the time. Some not so dramatic, and some much dramatic. Even like this year, for example, with Madison Bumgarner. Madison Bumgarner got off to a start that was atrocious, 3 terrible starts. But if you look at his numbers today, so for example, he pitches today, and he pitches against Walker Buehler. His Sierra number is 2.73 today, and Walker Buehler is 2.29. So what's the difference? These are 2 pitchers that are very good, and Bumgarner, you would never have been able to capitalize on his hot streak if you don't utilize the current information, because you might be using the information from his first 3 starts. So I think that it's important to really realize that as we go through a lot of different things, numbers change, people change, and they're not robots. These guys go out and they get stiff necks, and their back hurts, and their arm just can't get it going today. But it's up here sometimes for those guys. And the good guys, the good pitchers, find a way, and they get the ball into the strike zone, and they do whatever. I'm trying to, in preliminary looks, I'm trying to look at the White Sox today against the Twins. I think that's a pick'em type game on the board right now. My line says the White Sox are minus 130, so that gives them a 25 basis points advantage. And you have Keuchel against Happ now, and neither pitcher is like dynamite, but at the same time, the Chicago White Sox are 13-2 against left-handed pitchers. So I'm pretty much almost auto play when the White Sox play left-handed pitchers.
It's so funny you say that, because I was going to talk to you about that. And here it is right here, right in front of you. I want to say this, Scotty, is that, let me see if we can build this up a little better for everyone. Okay. So I think the White Sox are almost on if I'm correct in the numbers, they're about 24-3 their last 27 starts versus lefties. They have been on auto. I mean, and I'm one of these guys that Listen, if I didn't go to your wedding, I'm not going to your funeral, okay? And and I have not been involved in this hot streak here. And this is one of the games where initially ECSI is seeing some early reverse line movement here. As you see, the White Sox opened up minus 115 with Minnesota here minus 105. And currently, as we speak, Minnesota has jumped to minus 108 with the White Sox at a 102. And then that's with 83% of the bets and 72% of the money. So in our eyes here at East Coast Sports, it's a reverse line movement and a sharper, heavier play to start the morning on the Twins. But I think as this day does progress, you're going to see, a lot more people jumping on the White Sox for that 24-3 or whatever the exact numbers is. But they have absolutely demolished lefties, and Minnesota's been real inconsistent. Their pitching staff has not come through early, and their clutch hitting has been atrocious. But we're expecting them also to bounce back at some point. Talk to us about the initials. I mean, there's Warba. There is so many more. There's so many 3-4 letter words that someone like yourself and a lot of other people use. I call it alphabet soup. I mean, they just seem like there's a new one every day. Can you enlighten some of us to some of the big ones that you do use, and maybe for someone looking to get into start creating something like yourself is doing? Any helpful hints, for the listeners?
Yeah, sure. I mean, anytime that we are handicapping a baseball game, the reality is that you have two things in play, and one more so than anything else. So you have the way I do it is I look at not necessarily what the won-loss percentage is for a team today, but what the expected won-loss percentage is going to be for the season. Now, I just told you earlier that we use a lot of information that's most current for player data, but for a team and their won-loss percentage, teams are going to get hot, teams are going to get cold. I mean, look at the Dodgers. I mean, the Dodgers won, what were they, 12-3 to get started, and now they're barely above 500. So all teams tend to go through that, but that doesn't mean that team should necessarily be a 500 team in how you're going to prognosticate what they do. But you should look at what they do on the course of a full season. Now, having said that part of it, the main part of what I guess the determination in how a baseball game handicaps is the starting pitchers. Because it's like in hockey, you have the goalies, right? So each team is going to have one player that could be better than another player, or you have two guys that you never really don't know a whole lot about, but they have data. So the way I try to do it, and the first thing I try to get people to understand is baseball has become about three true outcomes. And three true outcomes are walks, strikeouts, and home runs. And there is a measure that you can encompass all of that in, and it's called FIP. FIP is fielding independent pitching. So what that means is it's how a pitcher does on the mound independent of his fielders. So does that pitcher dominate from the mound and he doesn't have to rely on his fielders to get outs? And if so, then that's a pitcher a lot of times you want to bet on because he's controlling the game. If he can control the three true outcomes, he's going to control the game from the mound. So FIP is also a measure that they utilize now, and they've kind of constructed it to look like an earned run average. So that makes it easy for a lot of people to kind of get an idea of what it looks like. So FIP is a number that's where they have an achievement level at, but then there's a number called XFIP. X, anytime you see an X in front of a number or the letters, that's a predictive number. So it goes and says, okay, well, based on what these guys' numbers are right now, this is what he should do over his next few starts. I use XFIP and I use Sierra. Now, Sierra, it's SIERA. What it is it's a more advanced ERA number. So ERA is pretty simple. It's earned runs divided by innings pitched, and that's how many earned runs you give up on an average. Sierra includes all types of things. It includes how many hits the guy gave up. It includes what kind of hits, whether they were hard hits, soft hits, where the ball goes. All the actions that a pitcher takes is included in Sierra. Sierra is actually a little bit better than XFIP as a measure, so I use both. And as you're kind of looking at it, then you can get a good measure of what a pitcher's caliber is versus what an ERA is, because you can see a variance a lot of times where an earned run average might be, say, 4.5, and a Sierra number might be, say, 3.9. And that just means that he's been unlucky in a sense of his earned runs, because a pitcher doesn't control that. A pitcher only controls what he can based on what he throws. So when you're starting to really break it down and to kind of look at it from that perspective, you have a Sierra number or an XFIP number, and then you tie that back to things like ground ball rate. So a ground ball is going to be less damaging than a fly ball or a line drive. So does this guy give up ground balls, and does he give up hard hit rate? So his hard hit rate a lot of times can be a very effective way to start tying and tying everything together to make a story, right? So the story kind of looks like this. You have two pitchers, and pitcher A is able to control the game from the mound. He has a good strikeout rate. His walk rate's good. So that means it's going to limit guys on base. So if he limits guys on base, the opportunities to score for the opponent are lower. And then if he has an idea of being able to have low or high ground balls, and he has a low hard hit rate, then a lot of times your damaging blows go down as well. So that's a pitcher that you really want to look at in terms of can he control the game? When he does get hit, they're soft hits, they're on the ground, those become outs. And I don't want to make it that simple, but that creates a storyline that you can follow to say, hey, this is an effective way for this pitcher to win. And then one of the things that I'm trying to do now is get a really good grasp of BABIP. BABIP's another one of those initials, but that's batted balls in play, the batting average on those batted balls in play. A pitcher doesn't control that. Where a ball is hit, it's just where it's hit. So if you have 150 to 200 pitchers over the course of every time they pitch, all those guys are going to have an average number, and theoretically they should all be about the same. And usually they are. Most of your ace kind of guys that throw 100 miles an hour, that's a little different. But they're going to be real close to each other, but not necessarily in short spans. So what does that mean? So we talk about regression to the mean a lot when we talk about sabermetrics. But regression to the mean is, okay, this pitcher is, say he's got a BABIP number of 300. And team batting averages today are like 230. So if it's 300, that's way high. Now, way high just means that he's been unlucky where the ball's been hit. The ball's been hit to non-fielders, so he's got hits. Well, you can expect that to regress to the mean, and this pitcher will also then have balls start getting more lucky for him where they get hit to fielders, and you can see that. I don't think people really even look to this, but it's a very secret indicator of where you can find value in a pitcher these days.
All right, I'm going to bring up one more game here. Maybe you have some information for us on the starting pitching. San Fran and Cincinnati today. There was a. Let me see if we can get that up for you.
Logan Webb and Sonny Gray.
Correct. Let's see if I can get the graph up here. Bear with me. And we're having problems, of course. I'm going to give you the breakdown, Scotty. Cincinnati opened up minus 150, San Fran plus 130. Currently, Cincinnati has dropped to minus 142 and San Fran to plus 128. We're getting 55% of the bets on Cincinnati. And on the money, it's a 52-48 split on San Fran. So in our eyes, initially, we're showing some reverse line movement on San Fran, less bets, a tad more money. The line is moving in the San Fran direction. As we start to close up here on our debut today, give us a little information on Gray and Webb and where you see your numbers trending on that game.
I find this game to be an interesting matchup because Logan Webb is a guy that has struggled at the beginning part of the season, but his last few starts have been decent. His Sierra numbers a 3.41, Sonny Gray's a 3.45. Now, Sonny Gray was injured, and he has only made 5 starts. So his first 2 starts weren't very good at all, and then his last 3 have been decent. So I would tell you, obviously, Sonny Gray's more of an ace kind of pitcher than what Logan Webb is. However, I would tell you that the whip rate for both of them, 1.31, 1.46, they're going to put guys on base. So I think that where you're looking at in this particular ball game, I don't like to bet on a guy that's had a great start when he's not used to having a great start, and that's Logan Webb. Logan Webb threw a game score 62 the last time out. Now I use game score because I don't care if a pitcher won or lost the game. Game score is an evaluation of his performance of that game, and his game score over 7 games year to date is a 48. His last 3 starts is a 49, and last time out was a 62. So that's the outlier. The 62 is the outlier. So if we're going to look at regression to the mean, he should come way back down. That puts Cincinnati in play for me. And I don't like the line. I mean, I would never go to a minus 150, and I'm trying to see where my number is on that game. And see, I have it Cincinnati minus 117. So I can see why people would be betting on San Francisco. San Francisco is a 500 team. Cincinnati's a 500 team. But you've got Sonny Gray, who's a more dominant pitcher than Logan Webb. I just don't. I don't see this as a spot where San Francisco has the value in my mind, just because it's guarding against Logan Webb, who pitched really good the last time out, and likely. So, for example, Logan Webb threw a game score 76. And then he hit a 51, which is an average game, and then he hit 35. That's what they do. I mean, pitchers, unless you're Garrett Cole or something, that's what they do. They throw a good game, a middle game, and then a bad game, or is somewhere in that kind of range. So this is Logan Webb just off of his good game. So you can only expect him to throw an average game or worse. And Sonny Gray just threw a game score 50, which is an average game. And his last 3 starts is a game score 62, which is above average. It's ace-like. So you would almost expect him to have a good game today. So I would think that this is a game where I might even look. What's the total in this game? 8. I might even at under.
Yeah, it's 8 over minus 115, 8 under minus 105 right now.
Yeah, I might look at even the under number. I'm tracking a new stat this year. It's called CSW, and I know people, they think that might be some shipping company or something. But what it is, it's called strikes and whiffs percentage. So think about what that means. So if you're getting a pitcher, you're getting called strikes. That means the batter didn't swing, and it's a called strike. So you probably fooled the batter on what it was. And then if you got whiffs in there, that means the batter swung and missed. So if that's a high number, then your stuff's pretty good. And that the typical number what we're looking for is right around 29%. So 29% of called strikes and swings and misses is a good number in Major League Baseball. Logan Webb is at 29.0 and Sonny Gray is at 33.1. So they have stuff that are getting people to swing and miss. They're getting called strikes. They're doing well, so that limits balls in play. Their Sierra numbers 341, 345. That's pretty good too. I haven't gone on to look at what the bullpens look like, but I mean, I think this might be an under type game.
All right. So basically, in a nutshell, tell the viewers where they can find you on social media. Talk about for a second your sign up for your emails. We will be going on a day-to-day basis here where we're going to be hoping to break down some games, see your viewpoint, our viewpoint, give out some freebies, talk about what's ahead for the weekend. But in a nutshell, Scotty, where can they find you?
Yeah, I have a website, www.mlb-daily.com. Typically, I will put out my lines every day on the website. Then I will later on in the day include some plays in there. And you can sign up for an email there. It will automatically feed once I put anything into my website. It'll send it to you. Or you can catch me on Twitter. I am at Webby20MLB, and you can follow me there. I try to be as visible as I can and be in many places. I just don't use everything. Like I'm not on Instagram that much, but I have Instagram. So, I'm everywhere. It's just a matter of how you like to have it and what you want to see.
And for myself, follow us at EC Sports Invest on Twitter. You can check out our website at www.eastcoastsportsinvestors.com. If you're looking to send us any emails or informations, send it to eastcoastsportsinvestors@gmail.com. This was the debut of the Breakfast Bankroll Boys. What we're looking to do in a nutshell, again, is to provide information to educate and not entertain. As I like to say, we save the entertainment for ESPN and Fox. Looking forward to a long stretch here with you, Scotty. It's been great. It's been a good debut, and even the boys in the back are willing to say thank you, and look forward to catching you tomorrow.
Nope, no worries. Time for a cup of coffee.
Same here. All right, everybody. Thanks again for the debut. Any questions, hit us up on social media. Otherwise, we will catch you in the morning. Best of luck, and always invest and wager responsibly.